welcome everyone. The title is Global Decline in Birth Rate, My St. Paul Story. My name is Florence. My middle name is Olukemi, but I call it Kemi for short. And that's what most people in Nigeria know me with. So I decided to put it on. And before I go on, I will do a bit of housekeeping things. Event is being recorded. And as we start, please, I'd like to crave your indulgence for everyone to go into the chat and tell me which country you are joining in from. And if it's in Canada, then which province or which city. That would be great to capture. I would really love to know that. Screenshots will be taken. So if you really, really don't want your faces to show, it's okay. But we would love everyone to show faces and participate fully. And then your comments and questions will go in the chat feature. That would help us to collect everything and be able to answer at the time. And if we can't go through all the questions, we'll leave an email. Please leave your email and we will get back to you. Thank you for that. And so I cannot move forward without acknowledging everyone. The mayor of St. Paul, Maureen Miller, is on. Even though she's supposed to be on a holiday, I dragged her out of the holiday and she came on board before the meeting even started. Linda Salstrom, my very good friend, I acknowledge the entire community of St. Paul and the surrounding communities. I will do more of that to the women because you know what, today is International Women's Day, so we might as well feel free to acknowledge the women. I am so blessed. My teachers from home, that is right from medical school, some of them are here today. I acknowledge Dr. Nii Bankole, who taught me the rudiments of medicine. Actually, he held my hand and taught me how to palpate. Professor Uche Onwudiegu has always been a father to me back in the IFEMED days, and my colleagues that are on board will testify to that. And I saw him come on, I'm like, wow. And those are my medical days teachers. Now, I went for residency at the University College Hospital Ibadan, and that's where my other teachers, my fathers in the profession, Professor Adeyemi Adekunle, is right here with us, Professor Akinyinka Omibodun and Professor Adeshina Oladokun. They are, I call them my Ibadan fathers. They are more than that, but they are the ones representing. Dr. Gabe Francis, you know him, he's my, how would I even describe him? He's an inspiration to me. He was the keynote speaker at the last year event. March 8th last year, we had an event like this. And he is joining in from South Africa. He was going to give a few remarks after I have talked. My family, where would I start from family? Okay, let me tell you about the family that I met in St. Paul. Dr. Olakunle Amusan is right there looking at me. And my uncle from Nigeria, Elder Gabriel Folorunsho, is joining in. If he isn't there yet, he's joining in. So I acknowledge everyone. And without much ado, I also want to acknowledge my teammates. I call them my teammates of many years. Monica Jolly has worked with me forever, Christy Campbell, and her husband, Braden Campbell. You wouldn't believe the level of teamwork that we do together beyond even clinical practice. I appreciate you. Natasha Chapdelaine, Krista Brodziak, and Richelle Brusso. Natasha is kind of midway, and I'll tell you a little bit of their stories maybe later on, but these are people who are passionate to see our community move forward when it comes to giving birth to babies. Now, introduction, the topic is global, but I'm bringing it to local. So I'm talking about global decline in birth rates, and I'm bringing down to the St. Paul story. I'd always known that there's a decline in birth rate that's been ongoing for a long time. I think about a decade ago, or maybe more than that, some economists started to say, developed countries are not having enough babies. There's going to be a problem. There'll be babies born that are too few to take care of the elderly when it comes to that time. There will be shortage of workforce and all that. I think that had been predicted, but COVID brought it on really badly. And so what we are seeing now is a global reduction in birth rate. So I just want to quickly introduce myself before I go into the meat of the presentation. Who am I? They called me Baby Doc when I arrived St. Paul. and started work in 2009 as an OBGYN. And I have delivered personally close to 2,000 babies at the St. Therese Healthcare Center in St. Paul. Actually, where I didn't used to count. I might have counted the number of babies I delivered in Nigeria, Swaziland, and South Africa, but nobody asked. So when I came to Canada, it was an FAQ, frequently asked questions. My patients would come in and say, how many babies have you ever delivered? So I started counting. And I reached 1,030 in December 2014. So between then and now, I'm going to things that happen, but I'm just somebody who's passionate about the well-being of women, particularly the pregnant ones. And one of my slogans is, pregnant women are not sick. Of course, there are some that carry high risks there, but they are not. Generally, it's a physiological process. We are not sick when we are pregnant. All right, so let's go to the myths. The global trend, all over the world, birth rates are declining. It's a known fact. When I told somebody in Nigeria this today, she said, oh, people still deliver lots. Some women deliver lots of babies. I said, yeah, some, but you can't, that is not the general. On a general note, women, if you compare now with 1950, which is the graph you can see, there's a steady decline. And right now, we are kind of like halfway of what an average woman will have in 1950. It was 4.5 averagely then. Right now, it's about less than 2.5 if we put everything together. Women delay childbearing now for economic reasons, or have less babies for economic reasons. Women also, I think one of the stories I want to tell today shows that women are not given the best space in terms of childbirth, in terms of childbearing, where women who go through childbearing really have it rough in many parts of the world. I will tell you a little bit about Nigeria, but even in Canada, I don't see the level of comfort that I believe that women deserve. They are doing, we're performing a physiological function. We're not sick. We're doing the nation a favor by having babies, and it's not an easy process. So I believe, personally, this is my personal opinion, women should be pampered. Women should be given many options. Women should, one of the slogans, my own slogan in my clinic is, women are already special. We just make them feel so. We just want women to know that they are appreciated and they feel so. So both fertility rates and birth rates are on a downward trend, particularly in developed countries, but it's actually all over the world. So coming home to Canada, the current birth rate for Canada in 2023, well, that's the projected, but even in 2022, it was 10.072 per 1,000 people, which means one birth by 100 people. That's not enough to replace. I mean, we're talking of shortage of workforce. It's probably going to continue into the next decades if we don't have enough babies. It's been happening. COVID made it worse, but these are the rates. You can look at it, the macro trends in these rates. And then on top of that, maternity services are disappearing in rural Canada. So it's not only Alberta, where we are presently, where I work, where I have my stories, it's all over. And even in the United States, in some places, they close down obstetric services without consulting anyone in the community. It's just a policy, health system issue, and they just close it down. So it's happening all over the world. So, and even in Alberta, there are struggling maternity services. If you Googled obstetric services in Alberta right now, you will find out that many hospitals are having to close down intermittently just to rearrange and get enough staff and get enough resources. So many women, starting from even before COVID, they'll come into my office and ask the question, so where am I going to deliver my baby? Would I even know anyone would I know anyone in my labor room? Am I going to go through labor alone? In COVID, it was really bad. Women had to go into labor without their families coming in. And that's mostly because they had to deliver in hospitals. And we know that many hospitals had to close down because of COVID. So women were left wondering where on earth they were going to have their babies. Of course, some people had theirs at home, unplanned, in cars, in the ambulances. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. So these are some of the faces of the babies that I delivered in St. Paul. I'm going to talk about only Madeline. She's on the left side. The young woman came to me. I was in a restaurant with a family friend, and she walked to me and said, "Excuse me, are you a doctor?" I was looking at her. I was trying to figure out how to answer and why she was asking that question. And she said, "My mom told me you delivered me." I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's take a picture. May I use your picture in my presentation?" They both said yes. So that's the story of Madeline. Now you can see many women would bring their babies back and would want to take pictures. And these are all free gifts for me, including my own very grandchildren. Some of them, I happen to be actually at the birth of the 6 of them. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about mother stories. This was a particularly striking one. Mother of 7, baby number 6 had arrived as an unplanned delivery in the home. She came to our hospital, and at that time there was a lot of issues, but she was examined and she wasn't in labor at that point, they said, and went home. And a few hours later, she just felt the urge to bear down, which is a story that could happen to just anyone, particularly those who've had many babies and who have had history of fast labors. And so this was what happened to her. Her husband and her mother had to take the delivery, which was not a very good experience for mom and husband. But because of the fact that she had that option, by the time she was pregnant for number 7, she wanted me to come to her house to deliver her baby. And I said, no, for many reasons, maybe that would not happen. And at some point, I was not there when she went into labor. And then she came in labor when there was staff shortage. So the first thing that hit her when she got to the hospital was the announcement that she could not be delivered here. She had to go somewhere else. And while they were still grappling with how to do the transfer and all that, of course, she got ready and she pushed. And so she had to deliver in our hospital, despite the fact that she was not prepared for, So that's what happened with mother number 1. The second story that I'll bring up is mother number 2. She had a second baby delivered in an ambulance en route hospital. She wasn't actually she wasn't a member of our community. Where she had gone into labor, she was transported because the hospital there had shut down the obstetric services. There were not enough staff. So they took her to the next nearest hospital, which had the same story, no obstetric services. So they called around and found out that it was only St. Paul at that point that had staff to attend to women in labor. So they brought her all the way, and of course, by the time they got to St. Paul, she had delivered. And in both cases, we were only able to deliver placenta. Even the first one that delivered at home, they couldn't get the placenta out. It was in the hospital. And this lady that delivered in the ambulance had to come get her placenta out in the hospital. I mean, I can imagine the trauma these women went through. Of course, they spoke to me personally and gave permission to share their stories, but this is what happens, and it's getting uncommon anymore. It used to be uncommon. And the question I ask myself, when people start talking about global decline in birth rate, infertility rate, I'm saying apart from economic factors, if women continue to have this kind of experience locally, in many localities, then globally, don't expect any increase in the birth rates. It's not going to happen because women just go through a lot when it comes to having babies. And I can tell you a little bit of my own experience as a caregiver, as an OBGYN, somebody who delivers babies, which was not funny. I will show you, I hope I haven't even jumped no, I think I've jumped a graph. Where's my graph? Yeah, I didn't speak about this. I need to talk about this. So this is St. Paul, the babies born in St. Paul. The graph on top is showing, and you can see my also here, the graph on top is showing between 2004, when I was not here, up till 2012, when I had been here for 2 years. So 2004/2005 was just about 120 And it rose steadily like that till 2010. When I arrived 2010, it went above 200. And so that's the other graph, this, the one below where my cursor is. In 2010, we had 230 babies. And it, it kind of went right above 200 up till the peak in 2015. By 2015, we that were delivering babies, we were sweating. We needed more people. I was the only one doing cesarean section in the hospital at that time. So if I was not around, women had to be carted away to some other places. I know a woman had to be transferred when she was already fully dilated and she had no descent of the presenting parts. My teachers will know what I'm talking about, and my colleagues. And, it's difficult to do such things when a woman is already pushing for 2 hours and then you have to transfer to another place to get help. That was what we were, enduring at that time. And then we were asking for more hands and all that, but it was a lot of issues. And so the delivery rate dropped down from 256 max in 2015 and started going down. You can see 179, 146. And then by the time COVID hit, we were barely making 100. And then, you see, so it's just around 100. So that's the story of the local story in St. Paul. Now, I call those years when the delivery rates went down. My own personal experience is what I want to share briefly. I call it my experience, the storm. It was a stormy part of my life because I find out that in a career, when you're passionate about something and people have the resources. I mean, I tell stories of how I've worked in other countries, 3 developing countries. We may not have the resources, but we have the heart. So I came here and see this is resources. Then we should really make it good for the women. It was like, no, it's not going to happen. So I found little or no support for obstetrics in particular. And I will tell you a little bit of some stories, which was funny. My office used to be in the hospital and my window got broken. Of course, I can't repair it because this is government property. So I'd asked that my window be repaired. The maintenance guy told me they didn't have money to repair my window. So instead he put garbage bag, black garbage on my window. And so in protest, I left the office and went to look for another office. And it was while I was away for about a week that window was repaired. And this whole issue of, obstetrics will be closing down, it kept hanging on. And I'm like, but even if obstetrics was going to close down in a beautiful community like this, shouldn't there be some discussion with stakeholders? At that point, I was the only one doing cesarean section. I was doing 80% of the deliveries. And I'm like, shouldn't there be? Oh, of course. So recruitment became an issue. If you suggested that somebody could come help, nope, not happening. And then, of course, came reporting, gaslighting, microaggression. People come into my office and ask, did you still deliver babies in St. Paul? That I've just delivered 2 or 3 babies that day. And they come to ask me these questions. Do you even perform cesarean sections? One woman came and said she had left St. Paul to go to another community because she was told there was no cesarean section facility in St. Paul. Incidentally, she had fetal distress even before labor. And so she phoned her obstetrician and the obstetrician told her, go to the hospital right now, get your baby out by cesarean section. And so she came and she had to have the cesarean section in a place where she thought there was none. At this point, I must have delivered at least 500 babies by cesarean section in the same hospital. So it was not funny. And so my experience, the passion came out. I really want things to improve for women. I was shocked at the reactions or the treatments, of not even only myself, but also even the women that were in labor. And I became angry. And I think I was angry for many years. And that totally burnt me out. I was worn out. I couldn't perform my duties. But then gradually, I learned to heal. I learned to forgive. I learned to say, okay, in the midst of the storm, something beautiful can come out. And I think this is one of the reasons why the people listening to me today, it's to say that there's nothing too bad that things, I mean, at the point where I was going through my stress life, I would call it, I never knew I would still do anything in St. Paul. I thought I would walk away. And I think Dr. Amusho was one of those who took my hand, looked into my eyes and said, you are not done. And so I want to be grateful for that. I mean, he was one of those who made me come back. I had left, literally. It was not funny. But then I came back with a mind to say something can be done to make the lives of women who are delivering babies better. So I'm going to be sharing the outcome of my storm with you. So my first outcome was that I started looking for ways to just love a mother against all odds, because I know women go through a lot when they're delivering babies. And so the Love a Mother program was born in my heart. Even though it is not yet at the full pace, it is there. And then I wrote a book. I wrote about my experiences, some deliveries in Nigeria, some in Swaziland, some in South Africa, and some, of course, a lot in Canada. I dedicated the book to all mothers. So I'm going to read the dedication to you. It says, this book is dedicated to moms all over the world and to the closest moms to me right now, the wonderful women of St. Paul and her surrounding towns, including Saddle Lake, Two Hills, Vermilion, Vegreville, Air Point, Smoky Lake, St. Vincent, Malay, Frog Lake, and the entire Lakeland region in Alberta, Canada. You gave me the rare privilege of serving you all and learning so much. That book is available with this new cover on Amazon. And Braden will be sharing the link on the chat. So please, you can avail yourself. And then the other thing that came out was I decided to start a Facebook group. I call it Support for Overwhelmed Pregnant Moms. I find a lot of young mothers just don't know what to expect in labor. They're so scared. And I started thinking, beyond helping the one-on-one person in my clinic, maybe I can do more. So I decided to form a team, and we will be starting this week. I was only waiting for today to start. And also the link you will find after the chat. And also, I went into coaching. I learned how to coach online. And I came up with this idea of the Joyful Birthing Formula, which the aim is to work with pregnant moms to achieve their desired birthing experience. It's virtual, provided with full participation of family and friends, and tailored to the unique needs of each woman. You will be finding me on social media a lot now. I used to shy away from social media, but I find there are a lot of people who need help, and most of them can only be reached through that means, as far as my own situation is concerned. So I'll do what I need to do if I can reach more women. And then, of course, last but not the least, this is not even the last, the Florence Maternity Home, and if you look at my cursor, this is the picture from the outside, the Florence Maternity Home, and this is our hospital. So it's just a street in between the two. And this is, I'll just read what I wrote because I can be emotional about this. It's supposed to be a safe, comfortable, and culturally inclusive alternative for pregnant women. It's a renovated 5-bedroom house. Actually, this house was built in 1959. You don't want to see the picture before we renovated it, but it came out really beautiful. I must admit, my husband worked so hard and we fought so hard because I couldn't understand, but it's fine. He did a good job. He was the project manager there, and all the people that worked on this, I believe everybody came from the St. Paul community. This was just when COVID was ending and it was so difficult to build, but it got done. Thank you, B. So, and then the idea of this home is for it to function as a home, not as an institution, not as a center, clinic, or hospital, so we can provide a natural feel for families while allowing for a wide variety of professionals to care for mothers. So those are the outcome of the storm that I went through in St. Paul. I feel good. I feel that I am a better person at the end of it, and I see a lot of healing and repairs going up in social circles in the community. I'm still going to talk a little bit about St. Paul community. I see people coming together, and there's so many people passionate to see the negative things that have happened in the community really turn out to be springboards to do good things. And I think that's what my own story is about. I cannot stop talking until I refer to my home country, Nigeria. This is where I was born and trained. My teachers are here today, right from medical school to residency. Maternal mortality has always been a big issue. Postpartum hemorrhage is still a big issue. I hear stories of women who die from the non-availability of blood every day. And, you know, I just couldn't sleep well. Sometimes you hear some stories and you wonder, can't I do something? And so I reached out to some of my colleagues, and I'm sure many of them are on this forum listening to me right now. They are not only in Nigeria, some in diaspora. We are putting our hands together to say we will build blood banks. With that, our own effort in fighting maternal mortality in Nigeria. If you look at the map that I'm showing here, this is North America. This is Canada. There's, you know, death is 0 to 20, which is great, which is really beautiful. Then I'm looking at my home country. It has one of the darkest red. I can't sleep well without wanting to really join efforts with everyone who is doing stuff in Nigeria to make this a thing of the past. So I started a GoFundMe account because I know when it comes to things like this, not just the money, but also the awareness, the resources. I started the GoFundMe very reluctantly. I'm very shy when it comes to asking for money. I believe I could, I mean, you know, I look at myself, I'm like, okay, even the Florence Maternity Home, I didn't have to ask for money. Why should I do this? But it was really occurring to me that this is a means of letting people know that this is happening. Even if someone doesn't give you money, they can tell somebody else that this is really bad. I live in a country and work in a country where it's, thank goodness, I've not had one maternal death since I came to Canada, but I had many in Nigeria. And I know many of them are still dying. So in a way, I'm trying to reach out and help. And that's why we did the GoFundMe, and people have been giving money. So please, if you want to help in that way, that would be great. The links will come later. Let me come back to my communities, the town of St. Paul, a people kind of place. And these are my thoughts about this community. It's a community evolving into a united force. The hospital is on the path of recovery. We've suffered a lot also from the COVID. COVID didn't take it easy with any health system, and we've had our own fair share. But I think we're stepping out of darkness, all the negativity into positivity, from the prejudices and biases into love and unity, from practicing in silos into solid teamwork, from hostilities towards birthing babies to giving the women their best birthing experience ever. I want people to be able to Google St. Paul and find out that that is the place to go if you want to have the best birthing experience. We're not in competition with anyone, we're in collaboration. And I believe we can do this and more. Today is International Women's Day. And I congratulate all women and I wish us well. And one of the things that I believe that we can do is to put hands together to really make lives better for ourselves. If we have, I mean, I've had my babies, my daughters have had grandchildren, I'm still expecting more. Maybe not directly from them. I have 2 other ones who are not married, so I'm still expecting more grandchildren. But many more people will still have children. Maybe we can make life better for them. Motherhood is a universal language, which has no nationality, race, or religion. We need mothers to save the world from going into more socioeconomic crisis. Currently, we talk of global trends that are, you know, not enough babies are being born. I believe locally we can do something positive. We need babies to keep coming. Babies are nature's way of saying the world should continue. So love a mother, please. Buy my book, GoFundMe. I'm going on social media on the caption, Let's Talk Mothers. I think we'll do more of that after this presentation going into the year. Refer pregnant women to our Facebook group, coaching services, and Florence Women's Home. That's you joining me in my own quest. Let me know what your quest is, and I will be so happy to join as well. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Please write your comments and your chats on Zoom. And if for any reason you want to reach out again and to us, it will be familymatters.florence@gmail.com. familymatters.florence@gmail.com. Braden is going to put other links, the Amazon link for the book and some other links you may need. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. I invite a bit of question as I wish everybody happy International Women's Day. And I see one hand. I'm not sure how many. Okay, we'll try and accommodate a few questions. So I'm seeing today, I know. Please, you may unmute and you have the floor.
Sorry, just wanted to say thank you for all that you do for the women. And this is very great and this is very wonderful. And wishing you all the best as you continue in the strive to help our women be better in delivering children. Thank you so much. I don't have any question. I just wanted to say thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Let me give it up to Dr. Gabe Francis. I had introduced him earlier. He's joining from South Africa. Had given the keynote speech last year, and he's here with us again today. I don't see him yet. I'm sure I saw him.
Yes,
please unmute, sir.
It's online here. Yeah.
Okay, please unmute and a few remarks from you.
Well, good day to everyone. And Dr. Kemi, I want to say congratulations to you for such a wonderful presentation. You are a woman of many parts. Hearing you speak today is not new for us because there's so much energy that you carry. And I must appreciate you and Bode for the blessing you add to many lives all over the world. And thank you for this presentation. I think what I get from here, it's one word called passion. You know, I see a woman with passion, and a passion is well directed to want to add value to society by making sure that women are safe, are happy, and they're able to help the world to multiply by having children. And I want to say that women play a key role in the development of any society. I always say this to people that if you go to any community, look at the women. If they are happy, that community is a good place to be. If the women are not happy, run away from the place. I say, when you go to a home, don't look at the husband, don't look at the children, look at the woman in that home. Woman is peaceful and in our society. And I know that the focus that you have looked at, it's more of women being taken care of, you know, the well-being of women. But I want to look at it that why is it, how do we help women so that our birth rate can, sorry, my screen has a little issue there. How do we help women so that the birth rate will be able to help our society? Because a low birth rate or a very high birth rate is detrimental to our society. But what we see in the world today, more of low birth rate because the world is evolving and cities are being formed. And in the next 30 years, 70 to 80% of the world will be in cities. So one thing that comes to me here is the root of the state of the women, why we have low birth rate, is beyond just the economy. I think it goes down to the family, because the root will determine the fruit. I think the place is to strengthen the family so that with the globalization we have in the world, and with women now moving from the home to the workplace, we'll be able to have a good understanding of work and to reduce the family work conflict that is affecting women all over the world. In fact, I always tell my wife that she is more of a masculinized woman today. Most women are masculinized. That means they are caring for the home, and they are also working to earn money, funds, for the upkeep of their family. So if women are now masculinized, having dual role, what about the men? And I think men also have to add the other side of nurturing, as they are breadwinners also with their wives in the workplace. So I see an integration to be able to get women to be at peace, to be joyful, to want to have children. We need to come to the place where we integrate the family to the workplace and to the community. And a lot of work has been done on this. And one of the things I have come about is what we call demodernization, which is being able to get women to the workplace in a way that the fathers are able to participate in the home front also with the women, as the women participate in the workplace with the men. This is a family-friendly solution that will make women to be comfortable, that will make babies to be born and to keep Dr. Kemi busy so that we have more babies born and the productivity in our society can increase. And I think that's where we're going to, getting the family life to be a partnership relationship, not a paternalistic relationship, nor a maternalistic relationship, but a partnership between the husband and the wife, helping one another in nurturing and in going out to work. And that will help our women to be safe. So I want to just stop there and say, thank you very much, Dr. Kemi, and I pray that in our society, we will integrate every aspect of our society, from family to work and to our community.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm really, really grateful. And I will, without much ado, just pass it on to our mayor, the mayor of St. Paul, Maureen Miller, who graciously connected even though she's on holidays. You can see how powerful women are. Over to you, Maureen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akindele, and I wouldn't miss it, actually. I've been on your journey alongside you for quite some time. And even before I opened up, or when you asked me, I knew that I would be speaking of passion. So it's quite fitting that Dr. Francis spoke to that as well, because your passion not only for our women, but our community has been an amazing asset of bringing people together. So I'm so thankful that I'm able to support your passion and what you give back to our community. And the commitment and the supportive manner in which you support us all through the storm, and still held up to see us past the storm. So I need to thank you for that. And on behalf of the community, thank you for what you actually have given. And it's been you've just given freely and it's not just this situation. We know of many situations that you've just graciously guided. And anybody who knows you on this call knows that that is your heart, it's your passion. And on behalf of the town, I truly am grateful. So best of luck in this process. It's so cool to see the home behind you, and know that there is support from the community to continue on with your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. That was great. Thank you. I appreciate the community. I tell people, I know I call him one of my elder brothers. I see him, Dr. Bankole. He had asked me when we came, are you okay? They said, Canada is cold. I said, yeah, we're fine. And he said, so what's the temperature outside right now? I said, it's -27. He said, no, you are not fine. You can't be fine. But I told him the people in Canada are warmer than their environment. The people in St. Paul, this is, for people who've passed through South Africa before, my husband and I would say this is our homestead. We go away, we come back, and actually, the person that received us into St. Paul, Dr. Amusho, is still in St. Paul, so it's our homestead. We go anywhere, we come back. Even when I was really bent on leaving and all that, I always came back. So we're grateful to the community of St. Paul. There are so many people on this call that I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm just grateful. We're grateful, very grateful. I will let the lights go to my three people. You'll see, three people sitting together. That's Crystal, Rochelle, and Natasha. They are my new, part of my new team with the center, with the maternity home. It's not a center. Why did I call it a center? It's a home. So it's a home. It's I call it my home. Come deliver in my home. Come get pampered postpartum. Come get the time of your life when you come into Florence Maternity Home. So those three ladies, you can unmute and just say hi. You can see them, Florence Maternity Home. That's Rochelle unmuting.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rochelle Brousseau, and I am a registered nurse within the Lakeland community. My passion was in labor and delivery, and that led me to the path of what I now do as a trauma release practitioner. And that is where working with women, because as Dr. Akindele so beautifully put together and showcased, women are experiencing birth trauma at an unprecedented rate. And we need to bring that awareness into our communities to help women support women, for women to feel heard, to be able to help women in that journey, and to start to find the places within these experiences where that trauma is occurring and see what we can do to work with that. And the Florence Maternity Home is what I would say to be one of the biggest steps forward for a small rural community to work with women to avert as much as we can that birth trauma that we are noticing at an absolute increase. So thank you, Dr. Akindele, for everything that this home encompasses and having us a part of it.
Thank you, Rochelle. Crystal, you want to say a word?
Hi, I'm Crystal Graziak. I'm a registered nurse lactation consultant. Born and raised in St. Paul. 2 out of 4 of my babies were delivered by Dr. Akindele. And where I'm coming from is the lactation piece. And to what Rochelle is saying, I see these moms and babies with trauma and who need to tell their story, and this being able to support them and then not being able to support them in their trauma. So I feel like this is going to be just the most amazing experience, and literally the world has something to like guide them, a light to shine, because this is huge. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Crystal. Natasha?
My name is Natasha Chapdelaine, and I've been a registered nurse in the community now for almost 15 years, and most of them I've worked alongside with Dr. Akindele, 10 being at the hospital doing labor and delivery, where she also delivered all 3 of my children, thankfully. We've worked together in the clinic, and then most recently I've had some experience working alongside midwife in our area, in the Lakeland area, and was able to kind of have some insight into home birthing. And it really changed my perspective on what women need and the natural process of birth outside of the hospital. So she has definitely built something that is absolutely what dreams are made of, and we're forever thankful and really looking forward to what this is going to bring for our community and the support and empowerment that this is going to give women in the coming future.
Thank you, Natasha. And I would let Dr. Bankole, if he doesn't mind. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. I didn't get a reply. I'd asked if you would like to make a remark or two. And we'll try to, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yes. Yes. Yeah. I must say this. Many years ago, when I observed and your commitment to the people around you, I had the perception that you will be doing what you are doing now. So I'm glad that you are doing that. So naturally, when we have intelligent people, it's a tendency to just assume that they all bury their heads in academics and technical matters. But I knew that you're going to have to be more relevant to the community because you have so much energy, so much commitment, so much passion, and so much love going for you. So I want to congratulate you and your darling husband for not giving up. And particularly thank God for the tenacity that's kept you in Canada. Now you are seeing the light shining out of the most uncertain times that we had at the initial stage. So I'm glad that many more people are benefiting from the riches that God has deposited in you. In fact, there are 3 prayers I've always prayed for you. You know that I am one of your regular prayer partners. I know, and I always ask God, that you have invested so much in the life of this woman. Please make room for her so that the generations of the communities around her will benefit from the resources that have been deposited into her. The second prayer I've always prayed is that you will not be discouraged, but you will fire on and see the good work that you are doing bear fruit in your lifetime. And the third one is also that you will live well and live strong, healthy, to see your children's children. Now, that which you are doing is a delight to my soul. And I know that you have the capability not to give up. I think one of your problems is that you can't see things and keep your eyes off. One of your weaknesses is that you are a fighter. You rather fight through than to turn your back. Well, it's no longer a weakness because what you have been able to accomplish with your husband in that place now shown that you are not being able to, you are refusing to turn back. It's now paying off. I want to thank the community where you are, St. Paul, for accepting your offer. It's one thing to have a heart to help. It's another thing for you to be accepted. So that you are accepted is what's delighting your soul. I always like to see you cheerful. I always like to see you happy. I always like to see, because when you are cheerful and happy, the best of you come out. I mean, this is a result of almost 30 years of my marriage. So I know for certain that we have not seen anything yet. To the community, I want you to know that you haven't seen anything yet from this family. They're just coming out. I knew it will come to this. I knew much more than just delivering the routine of surgery, the CS. It's going to be maybe subordinated by a more involving, a widespread relevance and more meaningful impact into the society. Now, I'm glad that you are stretching your influence to Nigeria as well. And I'm also going to partner with you by the grace of God in that area. Thank you very much for what you are doing. Thank you very much for what God is doing through you. Pastor B, thank you for working together to thick and thin. You are not really new in this area of motherhood, because you have raised children, you are raising grandchildren as well. But I know that the generations to come will remember this work. Many more people will take up this path to encourage women, to make sure that people who take a lot. I'm a doctor, and I know that women go through a lot to raise a family. And the least the society or the community can do is to encourage them, make it easy, make it joyful, make it peaceful. And all of us should do the best we can to make sure we contribute our quota. You have done it, you are motivating us, and the Almighty continue to strengthen. I'm going to Akindele. Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, we promised it was going to be less than an hour because people have to go back on their lunch break. And this is just about that time where I would say we are so, so grateful. I will let my husband just round this up by saying thank you on behalf of the family and to the community of St. Paul. And once we have rounded up, I will stay back. So for people who are not, taking lunch break or that can still hang around and want to talk, we will be right here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for making it. Thank you to St. Paul. This is our homestead now, telling everybody. And we're glad to be part of a home that has received us when we came, and we have made it our own home. Now, our grandchildren now know this as their homestead. So it's yet to be seen what is in view. I want to particularly appreciate everyone that have come across the nations of the world to be part of this. The vision is to share the St. Paul experience, but I know that you can also be part of what change will happen in your own locality across the globe. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank to all the professors. I can see Professor Migbodo and Professor Adekunle and Professor Uche. My goodness, I'm just delighted that those that raised and trained my wife also appeared on this occasion today. Thank you to everybody for making time.
Thank you. And please, if you have to go, maybe we can play that "Oh Canada" by that little girl again. I love that. Don't you just love, you see my Canadian people here, they really love our culture and the way that song was rendered. So maybe we can share that, and then we use that to call it a day officially. So be over to you, please. Oh Canada.
Okay.
The Nigerian version, I call it.
Canada, Canada, we stand up God for you, our glorious land. Canada, Canada, the true north, the true north, the true north. Canada, Canada, we stand up God for you, our glorious land. Canada, Canada, the true north, the true north, the true north.
Oh, Canada, our native land, true picture love in all of
It's okay. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.